In this third of 3 episodes, I'll be talking about the most recent years in my career that led me to found the NATA PR agency in 2000. Bonjour, hello everyone. I'm Nata, host of the NATA PR School podcast. You're a successful entrepreneur or marketing manager and you're about to launch a new product or service? Or you've been selling your goods for quite some time, but you want to learn how to increase your visibility, get known, and reach more clients? At NATA PR, we deal with real clients every day, and we'll teach you simple, fun, and honest PR solutions. You'll learn easy steps to combine PR to social media right now. Keep listening, and let's get started. Bonjour, hello, and welcome to episode 104 of the NATA PR School podcast. Here we are at episode 3, the final episode of this small series in which I tell you my personal and career stories to answer mostly questions from my young employees, but you, of course, who are curious to find out how someone starts a public relations agency that's now been in business for 20 years. Yes, I know, it sounds unreal even when I say it. So in episode 1, which is number 102, it ends with me accepting the paid internship at the Montreal Opera. The second episode, 103, is all about my internship, which landed me the positions of marketing and communications director at the Opera. And after 6 months of this internship, I really had this amazing chance to really work with top professionals. Really seems like another life. And when I think of me, I was a young 25-year-old woman with so much ambition, or maybe I wasn't conscious enough. And I really jumped on that opportunity to seize and obtain this position that was marketing and communications director at the Opera. It's crazy when I think about it. And so for the youngest of our listeners who are wondering where to start looking for your first job, I think this is a perfect example of where you can start looking because I believe that nonprofits organizations are amazing to start a career. It can be in a field that you love. It can be arts, music. It can also serve a good cause that really touches your heart, and that can be amazing for a first job. So take the time to find out about some of these public nonprofit organizations and look at their board and who's on their organization's board, because if you have very interesting people, you will be working with them. So board members are very sometimes committed and involved as they were at the Opera. So I had the chance to work with experts from an ad agency, from the most important newspaper in North America, the French La Presse. And when I think about it, I didn't realize at the time what I was doing in these first year of my career that would be like the basis of what I'm still doing in my daily life. I got to negotiate and create ad campaigns with the biggest French language newspaper in North America. Yes, La Presse. I created all the campaigns, their strategies, the advertising material, whatever, posters, pamphlet, anything you can think of with, brochure and anything regarding publicity. I had the chance to work closely with a major ad personality, Jacques Sauvé, that I just take the time to say thank you to him. I was working at the BCP agency, and which later merged with Publicis Group. So, isn't that crazy? I could tell you a great deal more about those 4 years that I spent and where I worked and learned so much at the Opera. I left that position because the job, my boss had decided to hire another marketing professional that had probably 15 years of cultural marketing experience, way more than me, as you can imagine, without even notifying me, without talking to me about it. And so I decided to leave because I didn't want it to become the support person for that director, because imagine that I knew everything. I would have to tell that person everything that I'd done, train my own boss. I was too young at the time. So, well, I'm not going to dwell on that chapter because it's not really interesting. Well, let's move on, right? But this is part of life. Sometimes, you can decide to move on, accept another position. At the end of the day, a job is a job. So after that, I held marketing and communications positions for a theater that was building an entirely new space. So that was really exciting too. But I was really missing music. And so I started activating my contact network. Thanks to my 4 years at the opera, I was building my network at the time, and I decided to call people that I knew were in the classical field. And this is how I found out that the label ANALEKTA was looking for a marketing director. ANALEKTA was one of the first independent classical music label in Canada at the time. I spent 4 exciting years there. During which, as you remember, that was before 2000, in the 90s, the CD was still a really popular format, this round plastic disc. The label could still, like ANALEKTA in those years was selling sometimes hundreds of thousands copies of some of its titles. It was classical music, so that was crazy. They had huge success. And yeah, even for classical music, that was a tour de force for sure. And next, after that, I moved to briefly, I worked to a TV production company, still in the communications and marketing department, until the day a friend told me about a very high, colorful personality character, if I may say, called Salvatore Parasuco. Sal for his friends, who was also looking to fill a marketing director spot in his company, and that was a fashion company, a jean company. That's where I really learned everything about the fashion world for 2 years until the fall of 1999. When I was working for Parasuco, I put together a marketing and communication department for a company that badly needed one. Today, probably you'd describe the employee that I was as an entrepreneur, a new term that didn't exist in those years, because without knowing, I was creating departments from scratch within the company framework, of course, but I was doing it as if it were my own, like if I was starting my own little company. And I hit my mid-30s just before the 2000, when they announced, remember, the Y2K virus, the bug de l'an 2000, as we say in French, the Y2K, that was supposed to destroy all the computers in the world. Crazy when you think about that. But many people made a lot of money with that fear, based on fear. But there was kind of a whiff, or, well, let's say doomsday to it, like a perfume of end of the world in the air. And I began to feel very limited in what I was doing for those companies. And even though they kind of appreciated my energy, they recognized my talent, I felt constrained and limited in what I wanted to do and what I see that could be done. So this is when, at the end of 1999, that I made the big leap. I became an entrepreneur, providing marketing and communication services to businesses in the music field and in fashion industries. But you've got to remember, though, back in those days, becoming an entrepreneur was not trendy at all. And it didn't inspire admiration as it does today, because it was quite the opposite, actually. We were still very far away from those hit TV shows like The Dragon's Den and Think Tank. Oh my God, these shows didn't even exist. So people who dare to venture out and, let's say, create their own business, they were seen as sometimes incompetent employees who couldn't land a good job. So you were looking at that, oh yeah, you created your services company, selling service because you can't find a good job. Oh la la. So going back to the first episode in the series, episode 102, I see once again that making choices based on my desires and my areas of interest was a good choice for me, was a good way. But what an adventure when I think about it. Would I do it again? Probably. But with everything that I know now, I don't know. I would hesitate maybe, but do it anyway. Creating a business is such an adventure, and it's really an adventure in self-discovery, because it's really rare that you're good in every aspect of a company. So you learn a lot about yourself. And yet something inside of me was really compelled to do that. Was it my unconscious mind? Probably. And the more time passes, the more I'm fascinated with our amazing brains. Unless you're sick and you have health issues, we all have this incredible brain that drive us to invent, create activities, human enterprises of all kinds. If you look around you, everything's been created by a mind, a brain like the one you have. So NATA PR was started in 2000 in my living room in Montreal, and later expanded to Toronto and Miami. Today we operate mostly in all North American markets, from Vancouver to Los Angeles to Toronto to New York to Dallas. I'm so proud of what we've accomplished and the employees that I have now. And the list goes on, because we are starting to perform PR operations for clients in Europe as well. And here I am telling you the story in a podcast. Who would have known? If someone would have told me that I would do that, record podcast, tell my story in a podcast, wow. And it's a podcast that anyone in the world can listen to from anywhere. Isn't that crazy? One thing is certain, though, I'm going to keep evolving, because I'm still passionate about what I'm doing. And one thing is certain, I'm going to keep learning, keep evolving, and mindful of what I love and what I love to do. Because for the last 20 years, I've made it clear to me that, you know what, the best is always yet to come. So I hope you've enjoyed this little brief history brief, and that you'll be joining me next week. À la semaine prochaine. Hey, you want to learn more about how to implement PR strategies? Head on to natapr.com and get on our list. You will also receive the NATA PR model on how to create a successful PR campaign. If you want to become a client, just send us an email to nata@natapr.com. Talk to you next week. À la semaine prochaine.